Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes Tottenham blog and to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the rumours and perhaps a bit more than rumours about Pochettino's potential move to Bayern Munich. I know I haven't reviewed the game against Sheffield United at the weekend yet. I'm planning on doing that later in the week. I'm going a bit more in depth and kind of making it a season so far review rather than just talking about that one game in particular. So today I'm going to be talking about Mauricio Pochettino's future. I personally do still want him at the club, but I think it's important at the moment to note the reports about him potentially going to Bayern Munich, because I feel like now is kind of the time where it is most likely that he will leave the club, and there are a few reasonably reliable reports coming out about Bayern Munich's interest in him, which you would kind of expect with the situation there, and at the moment having just sacked Niko Kovac and Pochettino, despite his troubles this season, still being one of the best managers in the world. So before I get into that, if you are new to the channel and you want more content like this, plus match previews, reviews, breaking news videos and interactive live streams, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. So I suppose diving straight into things, there has been countless reports about Mauricio Pochettino and a potential move to Bayern Munich since the German club sacked Niko Kovac about a week ago now. Now, as I've been saying, I think it is more important to take note of these reports now because, look, we know as Tottenham fans there's always rumours and reports about our best players, and this is kind of the first time we've had a manager of this calibre who has been attracting interest from the big clubs around Europe. And, you know, most recently it has been Man United with their few managerial vacancies over the last few years. Real Madrid in between Zinedine Zidane and Julen Lopetegui both times, and of course PSG when they let Unai Emery go, he joined Arsenal. They ended up getting Thomas Tuchel, which obviously suited us a lot. But this kind of feels like it's the first time where there's not a really big project for him to hold on to at Tottenham, because he said it himself, that Champions League final closed a 5-year chapter and he's starting something new now, and it could potentially be the same 5 years, just trying to do it again and on a larger scale. But he's not really in the middle of something that he needs to hold on to, and for him, like he has said he's not going to walk, but you know, he said himself at the weekend he doesn't know if he is going to be given the time to rebuild at the club. And he's always said in the past, when he has been questioned about his future, he said, you know, he loves the club. This is where he sees his future. And a few times he has been asked this season about potentially being sacked by Daniel Levy. He usually says that his relationship with Levy remains perfect, both personally and professionally. But to give you the direct quote from what he said after the game against Sheffield United, it's just a short one. He said, "We are in the process to build, I imagine in the process of building, and we will see if we have the time to build what we want." So he's not entirely sure that he will be given the time to do what he wants to do at Tottenham over the next 5 years, which is, look, I know there are a fair number of fans, you know, the polls that I've been seeing on Twitter and stuff recently suggest about 25% of Tottenham fans do potentially want Mauricio Pochettino to leave the club at the moment, which, given the form that we've shown this season and maybe even towards the tail end of last season, I'm starting to understand it a bit more. You know, I'm not entirely thinking that Pochettino is 100% the man for this club. And after the game against Sheffield United, that was probably the first time I kind of questioned my own feelings as to whether or not I thought Pochettino was the right man. But having given it a few days thought, I am still behind him and I do want him to stay. But, you know, he now knows what he is capable of. I mean, bringing this Tottenham team to a Champions League final, like, with the obviously the state of the club he came into and the money that he was given, or money that he wasn't given, and he made it to a Champions League final and has turned Tottenham into a regular Champions League side. Now it looks like it's at great risk this season, which could be a potential turning point in his decision to whether or not he will stay at the club. But you have to imagine he's pondering just what he could achieve if he did go to a club like Bayern Munich, and the financial backing that he will get there, that every manager gets there. And Bayern Munich are almost in a situation now where they need to rebuild from where they are, because, you know, they've struggled with their managers over the last few years since losing Pep Guardiola. And I know Carlo Ancelotti had a good spell there, but, you know, I think they're sitting third in the Bundesliga at the moment. They had a good win over Dortmund on Saturday, but they're behind Borussia Mönchengladbach and RB Leipzig, so they are in a situation that they don't usually find themselves in. And for Pochettino, you know, obviously he's shown at Tottenham he's the master of rebuilding a club. If he can start on the platform that he'll be given at Bayern Munich, and with that money he could really bring them to any level, to be honest. And I'm sure he's considering that, and obviously he is aware of that. He knows himself just how good he is. But yeah, there have been quite a few reports about Bayern Munich's interest in Mauricio Pochettino, and as always, a lot of them are from the tabloids, which you can't really take with too much seriousness, because, you know, they're the same ones who spread the rumours about Vertonghen and Eriksen and Kane getting involved in that, and they do just create articles for clicks. But there's a few that I've found that do have an air of reliability about them. Now, the first one is from David Ornstein, and this is via Ricky Sachs on Twitter. Now, David Ornstein, he is someone who has been known to kind of create a bit of drama in the past, but for me, the main story that I kind of treat him as reliable for is on deadline day. He was the first source to break the news that the Paulo Dybala deal to Tottenham was off, and it was well in advance of the big ones like Sky Sports, ESPN, and all them. He was a few hours ahead of them with that news. Now, via Ricky Sachs on Twitter, David Ornstein is saying, Tottenham Hotspur boss Mauricio Pochettino is the preferred candidate for the vacant Bayern Munich job. If the Argentinian ends up parting ways with Spurs, which now looks to be likely, Bayern will do everything in order to secure the 47-year-old. So I wouldn't perhaps agree with that there, that it looks likely that he will leave Tottenham, but he's saying that Bayern Munich do prefer Mauricio Pochettino over the many options that they do have in this situation. And moving on to Football Insider, who were very accurate over the transfer window, and I did bring a lot of their stories to you on this channel as well. They're saying, basically they ran with the headline, Bayern Munich want Tottenham man next year, £25.5 million will seal the deal. So they're talking about Hansi Flick, who is the current caretaker boss at Bayern Munich. He's put in place as soon as Kovac left. They're saying he is likely to remain in charge until the end of the season, and that is when Bayern will look to replace him with Pochettino. And a German source has told Football Insider that Bayern face competition from a number of Europe's elite clubs. Now, this is where I feel as though this period for Tottenham and the troubles for Mauricio Pochettino are coming at a very bad time, because if you look at a lot of the big teams around Europe, excluding obviously Liverpool and Man City, who are doing exceptionally right now, you look at Manchester United, who, like, they have Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but they're in a really rough period at the moment. I mean, his stats since taking the job permanently have been absolutely diabolical, one of the worst in Manchester United's history. Now, they have won 5 of their last 6 games, and they are perhaps in a good spell, but kind of as the overall moment in their club's history, I suppose, it is a really difficult time for them, and Pochettino has been linked to them quite a bit. But even going across the continent, you look at obviously Bayern Munich now, who have sacked Niko Kovac and are looking to replace him with a manager who can rebuild. Going over to Spain, you've Real Madrid, who again are really struggling to get any sort of traction in the league under Zinedine Zidane. They are sitting second at the moment, but it's been a tough run for them to get there. They've had to overtake teams like Granada, who aren't usually up there in the La Liga, but it's taken quite a while for them to get a bit of form. There's talks about Ernesto Valverde's future at Barcelona, and that's mainly because of some really poor Champions League performances. Most recently, they drew 0-0 at home to Slavia Prague last week. And that was after scraping a result against them in the away fixture 2 weeks previous. There are teams, of course, like Juventus and PSG, who, as always, are doing really well in their leagues. Juventus with Maurizio Sarri, and PSG still with Thomas Tuchel at the helm. But there are some big teams in Europe at the moment who are struggling, and they will be looking at Pochettino and his situation at Tottenham at the moment. Now, Football Insider go on to say there is no release clause in Pochettino's contract. The one he signed most recently, I think 2 years ago now. There might have been last summer, but he's on about $8.5 million a year for 3 years. So that's where they're getting the £25.5 million compensation fee from. So they seem really sort of sure that Bayern Munich have identified Pochettino as their preferred candidate. Now, there are a number of other managers they are looking into. Of course, they have a shortlist. It's not just one. The most publicised of those has been Arsene Wenger, who himself has said he could potentially be going into talks with Bayern Munich during the week to try and get a deal done there. There are some other managers. It's kind of the usual candidates at the moment. You have Erik ten Hag at Ajax, Julian Nagelsmann at RB Leipzig, and a few new ones. There's one, Ralf Rangnick. At the moment, he's kind of been mentioned as a name there. But Football Insider seem pretty sure from a German source that Bayern are looking into getting Pochettino. Now, another one is One Football, and this is a report that they had before Kovac was actually sacked on, I think it was Halloween night. They reported Bayern's likelihood to sack Niko Kovac and their interest in Poch again before anything actually materialised there in Bayern Munich's situation. Now, they've said other potential managers such as Ralf Rangnick, Thomas Tuchel from PSG, and Erik ten Hag, they have committed their immediate futures to the club, their current clubs, not publicly, but in their negotiations with Bayern Munich, or I suppose lack of negotiations. They have said they're happy where they are at the moment, and I suppose all three of them at the moment do look likely to go on and win something domestically this year, so that could maybe be where they're coming from. But Hassan Salihamidzic, he's the Bayern, I think he's the CEO or something, he prefers Pochettino as the ideal candidate. And I mean, obviously it does have to be taken with a pinch of salt when it is a rumour about Tottenham, and especially Pochettino, given what he has achieved over the last couple of years. But for the reasons I said at the start, I do feel as though it's important to take these rumours kind of seriously, because it just seems like a time when we know Pochettino isn't as happy at Tottenham as he has been in the past, and we know he has an unsettled squad, and that's undoubtedly going to come into any decision he does eventually make about this. But I don't think it will be a thing over the next couple of weeks. I think he'll be there for the West Ham game after the international break, and I wasn't too sure about that after the Sheffield United game. But having given it a bit of thought, I do think he will be there. But it's getting increasingly hard to see him at the club at the end of the season. And that's just because we're not really seeing much in terms of our form turning around on the pitch. We've always been given out about these the team selections, and we finally got what we wanted at the weekend. We got Lo Celso full debut. We got Tanguy Ndombele and Sissoko playing in the middle. We'd no Eriksen, we'd no Vertonghen, no Alderweireld, and it was only making 2 changes to the team that did so well away to Red Star Belgrade on Wednesday. And even though he was bringing in Serge Aurier, who the majority of us don't want in the team, and Ben Davies, who is definitely second best to Danny Rose at the moment, it was the team that the majority of us were asking for, and it was the same old crap on the pitch. And it's really hard to see where this is going to turn around. But I'm going to be getting more into that in my Sheffield United /season review later on in the week. But make sure to put down in the comments below what you do think about Mauricio Pochettino's current situation, if you are Poch in, Poch out, and whether or not you think there is much to these rumours about Pochettino potentially replacing Niko Kovac as Bayern Munich's manager. As always, if you are new to the channel and you like this video and you want more, please subscribe down below, click the thumbs up button, and thanks for watching.